Following a llama and waving palms, today we enter Holy Week, the final week of Lent, the last week before the first. This week is the story of our people, of how we came to be. We follow a God who came as a human to show us that true love was possible. Jesus showed us how to do it, who to prioritize, how we could bring about God's kingdom on earth. He traveled around loving, healing, eating, and joking with people. All kinds of people, not just the good ones or the worthy ones. In fact, he specifically sought out those who were least deserving and gave them places of honor. He reminded us that the spirit of the law was about being in right relationship with God and one another, because we need each other to be in right relationship with God. But society was and is built on the understanding that there are some people who are better than others. While we all have the same basic needs, not all of them are met, and definitely not equally. How can the wealthy be served if there aren't poor to serve them? There can only be elite if there are inferiors and mediocres. So along comes Jesus. He seems to look around the aristocrats and the religious nobility at the people who need him more. He spends time with the hungry and the thirsty and the stranger. He heals the sick. He eats with thugs and sinners, and it is all wrong. No, 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 no. The powerful are mad and distressed. He is breaking all the rules, and he knows better. He tells parables about the degenerate prodigal son, whose return is so great as to be the occasion of a great feast, and about the man who is robbed and beaten and left on the side of the road, and after his own people pass him by, a foreigner sees him and rescues him. He says that when even one of us is missing, he will leave the 99 to find us. He heals on the Sabbath because illness doesn't rest. He is breaking the rules and showing people how the law is made to help us to be in better relationship with God, and how when our adherence to the rules isn't making that happen, we have interpreted the law incorrectly. This is great news for the poor, the vulnerable, the lonely, the refugees, and immigrants. Jesus is not great news for the privileged. The world is working for these folks. They do not need or want equality, because for them this would mean giving up some of their power. They are the sons of wealthy businessmen and have made money on systemic oppression. They have spent generations building up their power. The rules and the structure works for them, and they are committed to protecting it. And when it is time, they use their power, their rules, and structure to have Jesus executed. As Jesus entered Jerusalem, he knew the tension and the pressure were so intense that something was going to happen. And he knew what that was, too. He could have run, could have turned a different way, taught a new people about God the Father. He could have stopped preaching and healing, returned to his home, and worked construction. And instead, he got a colt, or maybe a llama, and rode into Jerusalem. It is only in John where we have palms. In Luke's gospel, the disciples get a colt and put coats on its back for Jesus to sit on. And he rides into town, and people throw their cloaks on the road, a red carpet for a king. And the disciples are feeling this moment and shouting with joy so much that the religious elite ask Jesus to tell his people to shut up. Jesus has come into his own. He knows who he is, what will happen, and what he must do. He goes into the temple and chases off the money changers and it is all too much for the privileged. They were interested and followed and wondered, but he has violated one too many rules, and they begin to wait for a time to kill him. They try to use rhetoric to trick him into blasphemy. They try to get him to speak against the emperor so that he violates the secular law. They make sure that in whatever court they meet him, he will be found guilty. And when the time comes, they use these tricksy violations to have him executed by the state. He could have lied, like Peter. He could have begged or convinced Pilate that this was a mistake. He could have asked for life in prison. He could have been a traitor like Judas, turning his friends in and blaming them for leading him astray. It seems that that's what Pontius Pilate was hoping for. Pontius is a Gentile, the governor of Judea. The religious authorities bring Jesus to Pilate to have him tried because they cannot put him to death. They report that Jesus told people not to pay taxes in hopes that this is enough. But Pilate doesn't want to get involved. He tries to get Herod to take care of it, and when that doesn't work, he tries to release Jesus as part of the Passover pardon. Each year, the governor would pardon one person, and Pilate hopes that this year it can be Jesus. So he presents two people, Barabbas, who led an insurrection and killed somebody, and Jesus, who maybe told people not to pay their taxes. Pilate does not want to be the one that kills Jesus. He tries to give a lesser punishment, but in the end, he bows to the loud, red-faced crowd, giving a governor's pardon to a criminal, pardoning the insurrectionist and sentencing the innocent. That raucous day in Jerusalem, which began with a colt with cloaks or palms and exuberant disciples, held so much promise. There were so many ways that Jesus' story could have ended. And this day, with palms and llama and brass, this day comes in a world not unlike Jesus's, where a few have so much and many have too little, where skin color and gender and political affiliations contribute to a vastly different health, social, and economic outcome. I don't imagine Jesus would have ended up with a pardon in our time either. For Jesus, for God, there is no way but love, no other directions, no lies, no begging except on our behalf. For God, there is always only one answer. Jesus showed us how to make that our answer too. He taught us that our only responsibility is to love God and to love each other. 2 laws, 1 job, just love. It was the love of humanity, each and every person in all our quirky uniqueness, which motivated God to be born a human, to become one of us. And he loved humankind more than laws and traditions, more than worldly authority or religious piety. He would never put anything above love for us. And for that, he was executed.